lot of people remember the 2022 Burna show.
Because if now you be me, you don't go come back.
That people had to be delayed for like 5 hours because we had audio issues. Fun fact, Burna didn't agree to do this show until the 19th of December because he was also skeptical that are we going to be able to produce this thing at the level that he wanted. Now, if you look at the production community in Nigeria, these people that produce shows, they didn't go to any school to train to become electrical engineers. Just some guy who has been around for a while who just joins wire. There's this guy who has been doing Tai Chi with the wiring under the stage for the events, right? Burna Boy has a 35-man band that requires mics, right? Boom, 11 mic blew off mid-concert. There was a point that I went off stage and people were stealing me pure water. Me and Jimmy, the host, were stealing us pure water and bottle on the stage. We had 100 tables. Each sold at 5 million naira. I have 25,000 people in the crowd who have paid for tickets. All my brain was doing is, how are we going to refund these people if this show doesn't happen? A lot of people blame Burna Dynamite. It wasn't Burna's fault. And I think for someone needs to come and say it for the first time, right? It was Nigeria that happened to all of us. Bro, when Burna finally climbed on stage and he said, under mic blew. For the first one out of the performance, I was moving microphone from a guy playing trumpet and guitar. So that, okay, let them hear the trumpet small. Let them hear the guitar small.
He's the architect behind moments you lived, like Burna Boy, Asake, and Rema sold out concerts with crowds of over 60,000 people. Dayo Ayoade is a product visionary, cultural strategist, and one of the most trusted minds in Nigeria's tech and entertainment scene.
A lot of people don't know this. WeChat brought back Big Brother Nigeria. Yeah. And it was a way for acquisition for WeChat at the time. Because then in the beginning, when Big Brother Nigeria came back, the only way you could vote was through WeChat. We thought that was sort of drive acquisition. For culture and the behavior of people. It's strategy for breakfast.
But this episode isn't just about what he's built. It's about how he sees the world.
Nigeria is the only place where I see the global movie superstar, or the global Nigerian superstar doing TikTok skits to promote his movie. You see people laugh at it, and I'm saying it's the Nigerian way. What the skit guys have done from themselves, I've not seen it anywhere else in the world.
Can you talk a bit deeper about Gen Zs?
This is a generation that's not inspired by how much you pay them. What they really care about is...
This conversation is a masterclass in product thinking, cultural pattern recognition, and building for the new Africa.
Detty December did not grow organically. It was strongly engineered by...
So Dayo, when people listen to this podcast, they may be in their car, they may be on their way to work somewhere, maybe they're working out. And I want you to first think about, if someone was to see this video with your name and they click into it, what would you want them to know about building in Nigeria and being a builder?
It's an impossible game, man. Like, it's an impossible game. The game doesn't have a manual, it doesn't have a route. And for every day that you're playing it, you are creating new levels that the next person playing the game is not seeing, right? Building Nigeria is like, it's one of the hardest things anybody can try to do, right? Well, it is possible, right? And you know, one of the things I've sort of been very bullish about is building great things do not need visa. We can do it from here. Nigerians can build products that can compete with what we have in the world. We just have to build the Nigerian way. And once you understand what the Nigerian way means, right, building becomes fun. And there's no formula to it. And building Nigeria defies every economic theory you've ever been taught in school, trust me. Whatever they taught you that Karl Marx said, it doesn't work in Nigeria, right? But then it has his own strength also, right? And as in, I tell people this, Nigeria itself is designed for a Nigerian only to win. And if you look at the history of businesses or people that built successful things in this country, they're not foreigners, they're Nigerians. And once you just understand what the Nigerian way is, it's hard, it's an impossible ride, but then you keep riding and you'll find success. Yeah.
So, you know, also, I'm really excited for this interview because we have known you for years, right? And anytime I step into your office, I leave with a new way of thinking and building products. And so you sit at the intersection of tech, culture, and behavior for over a decade, from telcos to WeChat to launching Patty Bets. And I want you to talk about specifically this thing of building, right? What are some particular behaviors that you think are unique to this country as you're building products? Like, how do you think about it?
So yeah, like I said earlier, right? finding what the Nigerian way is. 10 years is when I've sort of been actively trying to do this. But this whole thing started from when I was just young, like high school. You know what I mean? And what I found is, over time, I've come to find what the important patterns are and what sort of makes us right. And is that Nigerians are the most hopeful group of people I've seen in the world, right? We're so hopeful. Like, that's literally what drives everything the Nigerian does. And what I found is, if whatever product you're building can inspire hope, you have a chance. And when you do the math, you look at what are the biggest products that do the biggest numbers in this country. They're products that sell hope at different states. And because when you look at Nigerians also, right, Nigerians sort of, because they don't trust anything that they find, because of how we've sort of been raised and what the economy, the country has been like, right, we distrust things that come top down. Right? And we celebrate things that comes from down, that sort of feels original, and which is why the grass to grace will forever sell, right? Once you can find that single line that sort of connects everyone and build on that line, yes, it's hope. It's really hope. Of course, then we can now break this down to different segments, right? Well, it's really the product needs to inspire hope. And if we go to social media today, why is every kid on TikTok? Because one day they want to be Pella, the 18-year-old kid from nowhere who's become successful. That's what social media has done for them, right? It's sort of broken the barrier and give them a reason that with my phone, I can become a superstar someday, and that's what I found. Every successful product inspired hope.
And can you talk a bit deeper about Gen Z specifically, right? What are behaviors you're seeing here? And the reason why I'm curious about this particular segment is because all over the world, Africa has the youngest people in the world, yes. Right? Literally in 10, 15 years, probably for one person is probably going to be a Nigerian and they're going to be young. So I want you to talk about the interesting behaviors you're seeing with them that's different from others, and also like how you think about building businesses and what businesses we should be building for them.
Great. That's one generation that inspires me a lot, right? Even though I'm sort of a old millennial, I still think I'm like them. And looking at how my story started, right? And what I find very interesting with this generation is, I said, they're going to be the greatest workforce the world has seen. And specifically Nigerian Gen Zs. And because they're not inspired by pay. And I can tell you, right, this is a generation that's not inspired by how much you pay them. I promise you. They are cost driven. What they really care about is, I'm part of building something. My boss loves me. I've had to work with these young people. Like today, I promise you, 99% of the guys who work my team are Gen Zs. And I'm telling you that for all the big concerts and the great product that we built, it's always, and people don't understand this, right? They're first timers. It's the first time the kid who built the Bedo app that changed what music streaming was straight out of university. It's the first time was going to build anything like that. All the kids who work at these concerts that we do also, I promise you, it's their first time. Mm-hmm. Right? And what this generation reminds me of is this is how the pyramids were built. There were guys who were not engineers, the guys who built these pyramids and these great wonders of the world. They didn't go to any school to study engineering, but they had sheer will and they're driven by a cause. And for every time when I see them come together, right? And because I want to do this concert that sort of gathered these young kids in large numbers, and I just say, wow, this is a different type of generation. They're a different type of movements, right? And once you can find something to inspire them as a whole, Nigeria will be unstoppable.
Dayo, let's go back to your journey with WeChat. You and I have had private conversations about some of the insights you had while at WeChat. Why did WeChat fail in Nigeria at the time? And what do most foreign tech companies still get wrong about entering African markets?
So, WeChat was trying to build for us. And they're trying to build a product and not power our culture and who we really are, right? And I'll give you a very crazy example of the experience that we had, right? I remembered when I joined WeChat, it was myself, my friend Ide. I was lead experience of West Africa. And we're coming up with different strategies. A lot of people don't know this. WeChat brought back Big Brother Niger. Yeah. That
BBN.
BBN. And it was a way for acquisition for WeChat at the time, right? We're trying to because then in the beginning, when people in Nigeria came back, the only way you could vote was through WeChat. We thought that was going to drive acquisition. I remember we invested in a lot of tech products also. We're trying to do things. So they have this called official accounts. We're trying to do things the WeChat way for Nigeria, right? But culture and the behavior of people, it's strategy for breakfast. And I remember fast forward to 2015 December, WhatsApp wasn't doing nothing. WhatsApp had no office in Nigeria, was beating us with the numbers, right? We were doing promotions, we were doing ads, we had spent billions in marketing. We're probably doing 900K, 800K active users monthly. By December of 2015, I sat down with my team and I'm like, hey, we have to find a way. I have an idea. We've done tech, we've done all these things that they told us to do by the product. Let's try the Nigerian way. I remember telling Ide that, guess what? I know the people are Redeem. I grew up in Redeem. Let's go to church. And between me and you, in a week in December, we literally created an account within WeChat that publishes Open Heaven. We went to the redemption camp. Our entire spend was that Tizeti was starting at the time. Wi-Fi. Tizeti set up Wi-Fi for me at 100,000 naira for people to be able to download WeChat. That was our only cost. We printed one banner for 20,000 naira, and we had on the screen, listen to Pastor Adeboye on WeChat. In that week, we had 3.6 million new users. I promise you. It was crazy that in that 1 week of the church congress, right? And culture worked, understanding what our people wanted. But of course, at the time, the Chinese people don't touch religion. And we've tried everything else that we spend money on, right? And when they saw that what works was religion, it was like, okay, this is not the country they want to be in, right? And what it is everybody tried to sell products to us. And that's what everybody miss. And because the social culture or sort of what makes us as a people is different. And you know, the big lessons I took from WeChat, and which is where I sort of found the answer, right? And which is why I said hope and the things that are around it, right? Is I realized, what did we do wrong? You know what I mean? After I left WeChat and I was going to start the next venture, I'm like, what did we miss? And it was then I realized that there's no two culture in the world that share the same socio-economic structure. No two culture. Because this sort of made me to sit down and sort of ask the big questions. We're all trying to solve social payment, communication and social payment. That's what the goal was. That's what which I was trying to do. What works for them in China. And, you know, on one of my work trips, I sat down and like, okay, so what did WeChat do to win in China and could not win anywhere else? Because it was not just in Nigeria they failed. WeChat didn't work anywhere else. Right? It just works successfully in China and very minute Asian countries that always deal with Chinese people, you know what I mean? And I realized that early on in 2009, 2010, I remember when Dayo Ayoade started Paga, it was really pushing mobile money. Mobile money didn't work also. And all of us were trying to do the model that, create the model that worked in Kenya, M-Pesa. And so it now made me see what we all missed. And what I found is that these products or these platforms that we all celebrate today solved social problems, not technology problems, right? M-Pesa solved a social problem, right? Unlike me, that I'm a Nigerian, right, that grew up here, even in my village in Igbora, there's a UBA bank. So, you know, when people tell the bank story, it's not straightforward. There's a bank in the remote village of Nigeria. There's a bank. But if you go to Kenya, it's a different case. Once you live from Mombasa and Nairobi, you're driving 100 kilometers, it's all wilderness and safari. And what you find is every child in Kenya every young person in Kenya is trying to move to the city to work to send money back home. M-Pesa solved the social problem, sending money back home. The people decided that this is going to be our payment. For every platform that you think that's become great, it's not the technology that decided. The people decide that, oh, this is what we want to do with this platform, right? And I found out with M-Pesa, and I'm like, okay, it solved the problem particularly to Kenya. I looked at the UK. We all travel. The UK is tap to pay, cards. And I realized that, okay, tap to pay hasn't worked anywhere else as it's worked literally past 99% of their entire social economy. And it was because they had the trains, the underground, which was built. The biggest thing in the UK today is the train transportation. That's what everybody uses, right? And the way you move around is that you tap the Oyster cards to go around. So it was natural for cards and tap to pay to become the thing that they use also. WeChat, on the other hand, solved the communication problem in China. You know, Chinese people sort of lived in communities, right? In communities, in small communities. And what you find is that the guy's waking up to work in the factory in the morning, coming back in the evening, is texting the neighbor, oh, I need 2 ginseng, 2 fish packed. And why? Because for the first time today, if you go to the Arab countries and you see them use chat app like WhatsApp, they don't text like you and I. They use voice notes more. And because nobody has figured out how to put the Arabic in its natural written form on a keyboard. Even our northern brothers, you find that they all use voice notes rather than texting. So WeChat was the first person to put modern Mandarin on the keyboard. So it became a natural way for Chinese people to communicate. And that's what was the social drive. And I looked at every society, to the US, and why Cash App was successful in the US and not anywhere else. And because Cash App applied the username, the US gave the entire world usernames. And then I realized that every society, we celebrate these great products, but the society in the end decides what the products will be and what it is for them. You know what I mean? And coming back home to Nigeria, right, was then I realized and I asked a big question. So what was it for us? And then we found it. And that's sort of the things that you learn from all of these things, right? Is you have to build with the culture, not for the culture.
Ooh, you dropped some gems right there. I'm curious, speaking of the culture, what do you think is unique to us? Like things that you still think people haven't really solved or haven't really thought deeply about our culture?
Okay, so there's a good example I give, right? I said, in as much as you go on social media today and you see Igbo people bashing Yoruba people, bashing Hausa people, or and we even go. I said Nigeria, we have something called divided unity. Right? I call it divided unity. And why? It's because when it comes to Hausa and Igbo, we're bashing ourselves. Well, next Saturday, Chika and Ade are going to marry themselves. Right? And then let the Kenya person come after Nigeria, a Igbo person. The whole 268 ethnic group is coming for you. And in that lies something very, very big. And this is the one thing that's broken every prediction that economics and the world has had about Nigeria. That divided unity gives us a full sense of responsibility for ourselves. Nigeria is the only country in the world you do not have a job. You do not go to work. You can live in Banana Island. Use an iPhone 6 and drive an S-Class. Because that your uncle doesn't mind you coming to live with them. We have a way of naturally subsidizing each other's life that you will not find anywhere else in the world.
Interesting.
For every Nigerian that you see, to the smallest level of a Nigerian, there's 3-4 people that they are subsidizing their life. And so that divides every economic projection you want to make in life. Because you have one cousin that can reach out to you and say, bros, Afa, school fee. And you're going to send it. Right? And when every Nigerian just look at their bank statement and see what they spend money on, you see that 35 to 30% of your entire revenue or money that you earned goes to you subsidizing other people's lifestyle. And this you will not find anywhere else. It's literally what has powered the country for the longest. And it's unique to us. And I keep saying, if somebody can build on this social structure, see, when I sat down with a top government official, and we're talking about trying to empower 3 million people, and I'm like, no, you don't need to empower 3 million people in Nigeria. You just need to empower 10,000. But see that one person, it just takes one guy to blow. The entire family has blown. And you see this structure in every industry. In our music industry, there's just one Davido, but there's like 15 guys around him every day. Most kids are going to super private schools. And this structure is huge. And I keep saying, if we can build on this, then we'll find the gem of how big and powerful our country is. We watch out for ourselves like nothing else. It's everybody praises the Igbo culture. It's not just the Igbo, of how the Igbo businessmen bring their brothers. It's not just the Igbo guy. It's across the entire formation of how we Nigerians are. We look at, guess what, even to your corrupt politicians, the guy is taking 50% of what is stolen to still subsidize the life of poor people. And that's sort of what has sort of helped the fragments of our country called Nigeria, right? If we can build a real system around this irregularity, we would find something that is phenomenal in this.
And so now you speak about, you build products, you've filled stadiums and you've shaped culture, right? What do you think is the line that connects all these things you do? And what type of legacy are you trying to build?
I want the generation after me to say, Dayo built things that gave us permission. Right? And because, we're sort of raised to always ask for permission. We're raised to ask, I want to do this. And I'm saying, if we can sort of cross that barrier where you always ask for permission to do this. I have one very rogue mantra that I share with my friends. I say, see, don't ask for permission because they won't grant you. Go and do it and ask for forgiveness. You know what I mean? And because permission doesn't come, right? We've had to fight for everything that we own today, right? And yes, as I said, I would say, I want the young people to say, this guy's built a structure that gave us permission to do whatever we can dream of, right? And it's sort of how I see us achieving that goal. And it's what these tiny social platforms are doing. Nobody's doing it at scale, right? And if you look at every single product I sort of tried to build, that's what it is. From MTN Pulse back in the days. It was a time where we're all in school and we're young students. And I'm paying the same tariff my mother and my father, who is a rich guy, pays. And I'm like, no, can we create something different? And it was how we created MTN Pulse, which was unique at the time. It was the first youth product in the entire country. And what MTN Pulse did differently was that I said, network, we can use your cell mast. We all connect to a particular cell mast, right? You can know that all of us that live in this region, that is our students, can our tariff be lower? And that gave permission. Because then people now have Nokia phones that could use internet for the first time. People could open Facebook accounts, they could have WhatsApp. And it's sort of how when we built Bedu, also the same thing. Before we built Bedu, the music streaming app, the only way your music gets on a platform, you have to go through some big distributor or a label needs to sign you. But we do a platform that's from your phone, upload your song and the world will hear you. Right? We put up billboards all over the country and saying, as long as you can sing, these billboards are for free. Come into this building, we'll put in a billboard and people will hear your song. And I think that's it. Like, I want General to say, this guy built something that gave us permission to create at no limit.
Dayo, let's go back to not just the beginning, but around the Detty story, right? You had worked with Mr. Eazi at the beginning of his career, right? What can you talk to us about that period of time? And especially now that Detty December has exploded into this global phenomenon for the diaspora. What does that mean to you now from both a legacy and product perspective? Walk us through how the word even Detty, with Detty Rave and then now Detty December evolved.
I was at a gathering in the year and someone very influential in the television show was saying that, saying that Detty December that grew organically has become a thing. And I smiled. I'm like, no, Detty December did not grow organically. It was strongly engineered by a group of young dreamers in 2016. Mr. Eazi was my very good friend. And like you said, his career sort of started while we were friends. And when I tell this story, it's quite interesting. When Eazi started singing, I did not believe in the music career. Because at the time, it was only a startup that was really doing fine. I was working for a company called 440. And I led user experience for 40. And we had invested in like 10 businesses. And of the 10 businesses we invested in, he had the best one that was really doing good. The other guys didn't have a chance of being successful. The only way we sort of defend back to our investors is that, we have one successful guy. And the guy wants to go and be singing. You know what I mean? And he wants to go and be singing, right? And I know you'll come and meet me that, because I had my days in telco, we sold caller tunes. I know a lot of guys, and they're like, Dayo, I'm going to sing here, I'm going to do here. I'll follow him to studio multiple times. I'm like, this guy, focus on the one that will give us money now. Like this, I know these music artists, these guys don't have money. And it was hell bent on it. And I remember 2016, and which is where, when we connect the dots, it's when you look back and you connect the dots, everything makes sense. That no lesson then was a fluke. Had to call out tunes in 2010. Then I met Tosin, right? Who was selling phones, literally. And then who sings on the side. And then I remember I started social betting, literally. Paddy bets. If you look at Eazi today, it's doing power pay and bets, yes. Bet power, right? Yeah. And I remember him calling me one morning. If you go on YouTube today, my first Paddy bet ad had Eazi as the guy acting the advertising ads, right? And I remember him calling me February of 2016. And he goes, hey, bro, some guys invited me to the UK to come and perform. I'm like, you that was still trying to get your song to blow in Nigeria. Who is inviting you to come and perform in the UK? That, will I come? I said, come. And with you, no. He left, he went. And I remember him texting me that night and saying, hey, bro, they just paid me £5,000 to perform at a club tonight. I'm like, wait, what? Somebody paid you which song? And I was like, wait, do you mean it? He's like, yeah, serious. I'm like, I didn't know about the song. And he goes, iTunes and Spotify, where I've put the music. And to cut long story short, it was real. And I remember him sending me this particular song, Dance For Me, that became the global hit. Yeah. And I remember taking that song, trying to hustle the song. I took the song to Banky. Because Banky ran one of the biggest vast companies. I tell you, Banky, this song is going to be a hit song. You guys should give us money for it. Because the only way we knew how to monetize them was to get money from Caller Tunes guys. I remember them Banky studying and saying no, and the song went on to be a global hit. That particular year, Eazi had gone to tour, do the Roundhouse show. First Nigerian artist to sell out halls, right? He did the PlayStation Theater in New York. How was it in Nigeria? We're just looking at everything. And we're going to come back home. I was like, he wants to come and do a concert back at home. True story. And this is how Detty December started. That year, 2016, where it became a sensation, we're going to do this concert at, what's it called? It was not Landmark. The place beside Landmark.
Is it?
Where the Chinese restaurant is.
Chinese restaurant? Oriental?
No. The Shiro.
Oh, Shiro. Hard Rock.
We're going to do Hard Rock Cafe because it was a new artist and wanted a small place that just 1,000 people will be in and we'll call it a day.
Yeah.
Right? And then Clay, we went to Hard Rock. We have literally closed Hard Rock. We have done the recce, the show up here. We can easily gather 1,000 people in this place. So it will be a nice show. Hard Rock slide us for a big artist. Literally. That, there's a big artist who wants to come and use the place. Mr. Eazi was not big enough. And then we're forced to go to Landmark. Landmark was a bigger venue. It was like, can we sell Landmark? I remember on the same day of that show, David had a show at Oriental.
Really?
Yes. On the same day, David had a show at Oriental. To cut long story short, was sold. And for a lot of things that became culturally started from that show. Because we had tech background, we had a guy called Bayo who built MrEazi.com. So we only sold our tickets on our own website. Right? We created our own structure for selling. Between me and you, because we're expecting just 1,500 people. So we didn't put a cow to the ticket that we're selling. The place was filled to the brim that they almost shut us down. We had over 3,000 people.
I was there.
People were trying to struggle to gain. It was ridiculous that day. At accreditation, and credit to Clay, because it was Clay that had to create all of these matters at the time. And that was the foundation of what Detty December is today. Because the crowd that sold that show for us was the IGGB guys who had listened to Skin Tight in London. The following year was 2017. At the time, there were only two big venues in Nigeria. It was a hotel that could only take 4,500 people and Landmark that could just take 2,500 people. Yeah. And then we just did the math like, we can do more than this number. So meaning that there's no venue that can sell the number of people that we wanted. Yeah. And that's what made us go to Ghana. Yeah. And the Ghana story becomes more interesting because now this is where me and Eche became friends. Because Eche was a Flutterwave. And Flutterwave was trying to enter the Ghana market. Yes. Right? And the same MO. Well, like, guess what? People, and we concluded that people are going to follow the music to Ghana. And I remember the Ghana was same thing. Flutterwave powered our payments on the site. Yeah. We all went to Ghana. We took Labadi, Palm Beach, which was a bigger venue. It was a craze. Everybody was coming.
It's amazing.
That year. And that's how Detty December started because it was called Detty Rave. Literally, it started on our phone in the WhatsApp group called Detty Party. Why the mini party was first called Detty Party Lagos. Because Eazi had a saying that he used to say, we say, oh, Mokuna Detty Nasef. It was a slang he used to just use, right? And then it was our friend, Meister, a Ghanaian friend of ours, who said, oh, guess what? Let's call this thing Detty Rave. And Detty Rave was the first time African diaspora were going to move solely because of music to a new location. And everybody flew to Ghana. The tech community at the time, we all went there. Eche is there now. We're at the gates.
Yeah.
Battling, selling tickets.
Stories,
it was a crazy day.
Yeah.
And that's what set the foundation for Detty December. Yeah. And every single person has worked hard to keep that culture growing. Yeah. You know, Eche went on to start Afropolitan year of return. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that's what it. And it was a group of young guys, us working hard, learning. It was in 2019 after the year of return. No, 2018 precisely. there was a problem we found. Eazi has started something called Empower, right? Because we both came from tech background, right? And the goal with Empower was that let's create new talents like him that didn't need record labels or big money to sort of become successful. Empower was beautiful. We gave, about 100 kids were giving money, but we had just one great success story, Joe Boy. Yes. 2018, we had to bring in Rick Ross to Dirty Rave.
I remember, yes.
Because we didn't have African superstars that could sell large numbers.
Yeah. I remember that.
It was only David and Wiz that were the big superstars that could sell big shows. You have to combine like 3 to 4 African artists to sell a 10,000 show. Right? Because we didn't have the venue. Yeah. So by 2019, I saw this loophole. I'm like, wait, if this festival is going to become a thing, we need to create new artists, and which was why we started Bedu. To create a platform that allows create new set of superstars that can sell these big shows. Yeah. Luckily for Afrobeat, 2019, Burna Boy, Rema just came back, right? Yeah. And then we started Bedu. And I remember the first group of guys I went to call was Eche. I was sat down, Eche, let's go and do Future Fests. Yeah. But then COVID happened to us. Yeah. We paused. And we all kept strategizing to how do we move people. Eche is our cheap mover of moving diaspora people here. Because those time Clubhouse was a huge hit. Yeah. 75,000 people, 2 of you were doing crazy now. Like, guess what? How do we move? And we all sit down. Yeah. I know when somebody comes and sit down, all of this stuff organically, it breaks my brain. To 2022. Yeah. And we looked at the scape again. I said, let's do Future Fest. And then Burna Boy was going crazy. I guess what? Let's do Burna Boy. Yeah. And the biggest shows before us were shows that happened inside a hotel. Yeah. Yes. A hotel at peak is 4,500 people.
I didn't realize it was that small.
When they set up the tables, when it's just the table setup that they do now, it's 2,000 people or 2,500.
Wow.
And I remember when we were going to do Burna Boy, it was myself, my Casey. Everybody thought we were mad.
And what year was this again?
2022.
2022, yes.
Everybody was sure we're mad. I'm like, yes, we're going to do 20,000 people here.
At Echo Atlantic.
At Echo Atlantic was going to be a big show. And we did it. There was a lot of problems, but we did it. 25,000 people in one place. It was ridiculous. Yeah.
Walk us through, because again, for our listeners and for the viewers, right? What are some of those production problems? You and I know because we talk about it, but even something like they're only setting equipment where there's only one equipment or two equipment in the entire Africa for a production of that scale. Can you inform our viewers of that? So
again, even though we were dreamers and wanted to do big things, we were incapable because we didn't have access to the equipment. And like what Eche said, true story. A lot of people remember the 2022 Burna show that people had to be delayed for like 5 hours because we had audio issues. Fun fact. Burna Boy required something called a digital mixer console. There was only one in all of West Africa.
One.
He had done a show for 2 nights before in Ghana. Know what I'm saying? January 1st was a Sunday. Yeah. Friday night.
Afrochella Festival. Yeah,
they were using the mixer in Ghana.
Wait, so they're carrying this mixer around.
This Africa, man.
The plus chickens. They were using the mixer in Ghana.
Okay.
We wake up Saturday morning. Burna Boy's team missed their flights.
Back to Lagos.
No place to bring them. And I remember I was going to go and ask people that are planes to help us move these guys in. They come in, the mixer didn't come with them, Saudi. We finally get the private jet to carry them. The mixer didn't come back with them. Sunday morning, we had to fly the mixer from Ghana to Lagos. Mixer is in Lagos. There's not a single person that operates it. And that same Sunday, we had to fly a guy called Dayo from London to Lagos.
To operate this mixer.
To come and help us.
Hey.
Operate the mixer. You know what I mean? It's really ridiculous.
I just want us to pause here because I think it's very important because even when we had Wale from Landway, right? He was explaining the intricacies of real estate. We're using this to explain the intricacies of concert production in Africa, right? So you're saying that there's only one mixer
at the time.
Guess
what? Last year there was just 2.
In West Africa.
Wait, why is there only 2? I'm not really clear on what is it?
So because productions before we started doing big shows, people don't require this scale of equipment, right? But then we have the Burna Boys, the Remas, who are now performing on world stage.
O2,
arenas, and that becomes their requirement. Yeah. Today, what do we do in Nigeria? Nobody does a full live performance. that requires that much production. You know what I mean? We're the ones who say we're going crazy, right? And so we're trying to do things that. Guess what? A good example. There's a whole story of Chris canceling his show in Kenya. They didn't have the production equipment. Why even going to fly? Remember Rema's show last year in Kenya? They had to fly the same device from South Africa to Kenya.
Wait, how big is this device? I don't understand.
This shit is not so big. It's like this. It's just this.
So they're just flying this thing around
I promise you, bro.
Flying.
This difficult thing is so frustrating. Like,
and is it expensive? Like, why aren't there more?
No, this is like just 180K.
You must sing song.
Yeah. and this is just half of the story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I remember the Burna Boy show. Now we finally get this mixer.
Yeah, walk us through that night. Like, how was it?
Oh God. First, Burna didn't agree to do this show until the 19th of December. Because he was also skeptical that are we going to be able to produce this thing at the level that he wanted. I know we kept promising.
And he's quite particular.
Right? And we said, yes, don't worry, we're going to do this shit. So 18th of December. So we announced the show 21. That's going to happen January 1st. Show sells out. Show's ridiculous. The show sold out. Don't worry, it was a big deal. 25K people, even me, I was in hell, right? And everybody gets there. It all started smoothly. We finally got this guy that can operate Digico with setup. And then talents. This is where to the real problem. Now, if you look at the production community in Nigeria, these people that produce shows, they didn't go to any school to train to become electrical engineers. It's just some guy who has been around for a while who just joins wire. So obviously there's this guy who has been doing Tai Chi with the wiring under the stage for the events, right? And boom, Burna Boy has a 35-man band that requires mics, right? Boom, 11 mic blew off mid concert. The madness was so real. So now there's no mic for Burna Boy's guys to come and perform. So we kept stalling with other performances. Nothing was happening. There was a point that I went off stage and people were stoning me pure water. Me and Jimmy, the host, were stoning us pure water and bottle on the stage. Bro, between me and you guys, that day I was like, fuck. Sorry for my English.
No, go ahead.
I'm like, we had 100 tables set up. Each stood at 5 million naira. I have 25,000 people in the crowd who have paid for tickets. All my brain was doing is, how are we going to refund these people if this show doesn't happen? And this show must happen somehow, some way. We finally started calling everybody that we know. We found a guy who brought this mics in for us. Okay, you guys can now sound check. I promise you, sound check started like 9 p.m. while the people were dancing. That's what we started doing some rough sound check because the device didn't come in on time. Yeah. We scaled through that. Then I remember the Burna band guy say, oh, they need to go back to the hotel and change. This was 11 p.m. Change to what?
Change where?
There's no road outside or there's traffic. It's going to take you guys 2 hours to get back here. And I remember we just had to find a way. 3 of them went to go and bring what they were changing to. We got Burna in. Burna finally came in. This time 5 hours was gone. And I remember when Burna came in and I held the speaker, he was hungry, of course, right? And a lot of people blame Burna that night. It wasn't Burna's fault. And I think for someone needs to come and say it for the first time, right? It was Nigeria that happened to all of us. You know what I mean? Because Burna and his team were ready.
Yeah.
The band had been on ground since 12 p.m. of that day. Burna had been on standby since 7 p.m. We just kept managing them, right? And I remember when Burna finally climbed that stage. I'm sure I'll share that picture with you guys to use, right? Where Auntie Bosse was changing it for me. That there's no way my son is climbing on that stage. I'll start begging, I'm your son too, Auntie. This show must happen. And I was begging, I was really switching it for me. I'm like, my son is not climbing. I said, Ma, I'm also your son. I'm going to be in them. And and we finally got Burna together. I said, bro, when Burna finally climbed on stage and he said, they call me Burna. The first relief. Under mic blew. Between me and you, for the first one of the performance, I was moving microphone from a guy playing trumpet and guitar. So that, okay, let them hear the trumpet small. Let them hear the guitar small. I was personally moving the microphone. I said that Let me hear the guitar small. Okay. Let me hear it. But I didn't even know this part.
Nigeria, man.
But Burna gave Nigeria an amazing
Performance.
Like people were happy in the end, and then we scaled through. And so the foundation problem is there. We still don't have this equipment. You know what I mean? I had to make the same problem last year. This problem don't they finish
with Rema.
Yeah.
No, but before we even get to Rema, let's walk through each of them. So there was Burna,
and there was Asake.
Asake, okay, Asake. Yes. Because that show was, people loved that show.
But Asake was the next year.
Yeah, that was the following. Yeah, so walk us through the following year.
So the Asake show, very interesting, right? Yeah. I remember my very good friend Alex came here for Alex, Olamide's manager, reached out to me that, hey bro, let's do Asake. And because of course I was part of the Asake, White Bennett has been my family forever. Yeah. And so the Asake emergence, I was part of it, all happened in front of us. Right? So it was a great year to see Asake becoming a superstar. I remember going to meet my friend Olamide, let's do your own concert. And I said, no, let's do Asake instead. Right? Because I wanted to do an Olamide grand concert, and he was like, oh no, let's do Asake. And Alex had come that, you wanted us to do Asake. Between me and you, I wasn't trying to do Asake. Right? I wanted to do Rema. Because from our prediction, we saw that Rema was going to be a global superstar. And it was going to be easier to sell Rema to the global audience and stuff that year. So we're going to do Rema. As Nigeria, we have it. Rema fell sick and canceled the show. This is a show that you raised money from investors at a very high interest rate. So
and FX.
FX. Oh, very important. FX. Because when we're doing this negotiation, dollar was about 650. By this time, dollar was already entering 900, 1,000. And kid canceled show because he was sick, and there's nothing nobody can about it. The kid was really sick. Yeah. And then I'm here sitting down, called my partners, and I'm like, guys, what's gonna happen? Are we dead this year? And I remember I picked that phone, called Alex. I'm telling you, this was December 7. The year was already running out. And I called Alex, let's do Asake. He said, how? I said, let's do it. And I went to meet Olamide. We both went to meet Olamide. Olamide said yes. Now the question is, we've spent money to try to do Rema. How do we find money to do this? And I remember, I was like, guess what? I'm going to go back to my bankers. And again, there are a few banks that sort of supported us that understand this, right? Shout out to them, Sterling Providence Bank. And I've worked in banking. And Providence Bank saved us that year. Between me and you, in 5 days, Providence Bank approved 500 million for us to go and do that. Go and ask anybody that collects money from bank in Nigeria. Without collateral, to go and do Asake. And we have to announce Asake. And to be sincere, I think the ones that you don't plan for become the easiest. The Asake show was a smooth ride for us, right? Yeah. It was really good. People came out. It was an outdoor show at Soul Beach. And that sort of gave us, it was a good outing. We didn't have that much stress. And reason being, by the time Asake had his own foreign production team that sort of worked with us, so they had done the flight time show. So there was a sort of a template that we scaled up on. So Asake show wasn't really of a hassle, but it was a good outing. And again, good record. We had 16,000 people at Soul Beach. So yeah, it was a good one. But it sort of set what that did for us. What that set the standard for us that yes, we can do bigger shows and we can make this work.
So then the next year now, Rema.
Following year, let's go and do Rema. It's crazy that there's something I cannot say on this podcast. Because we're still in court. Oh yeah. And we never talk about these things, right? We're still in court on the Rema issue, right? Because things didn't go the way we planned. Like I said, we're taking money from investors year before. And investors are charging you, I said that your interest as ×5.
Yeah. And FX at 650.
Yes.
Now Naira to dollar is 1,700.
800 at the time.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of back and forth on trying to do the show. And you have to just concede some things. But again, when I see the Rema show and what happened at the Rema show, it's testament to what was possible, right? And again, I have to give credit to the team. Because the team, it was sweat, blood, putting that stuff together. So yeah, you have to give credit to the team. And when you hear, the stories are deep. Because you are trying to do the impossible, right? Rema show happened in Benin, and 22,000 young people. It was ridiculous. 22,000 young people. And when I was looking at the stats, and I promise you, 60% of them flew into Benin to watch Rema. They were not even locals. Right? The Rema show, battle with rain, but you land it, right? You come to Abuja. Abuja was also a smooth ride. Well, let's come back to Lagos.
Because he did 3 cities, just for our viewers, yeah.
Lagos was ridiculous. And I promise you, Lagos was ridiculous. We had announced that the Rema show was going to happen at Eco Atlantic.
Yes.
And then they said we can't use the venue because some consulate is building an embassy and they don't want distraction and they can't be disturbed. Between me and you guys, Rema, who had finished Abuja on the 15th, by Monday morning, Rema team said they are pulling out of the Lagos show because we don't have a venue. The show was on the 21st, so this is 6 days to the show. And I remember, because we were in Abuja 15th, the team had to rush down to Lagos to start setting up for the 16th. So now what's the venue we're going to? We'll go to TBS.
It's a full battle.
If you're in Nigeria and they tell that there's a show in TBS, you would think before you go there, right? And this also now trying to do the impossible, right? And I remember staying back trying to convince the team that, guys, don't worry, we'll move all of Nigeria to this venue. And we go back again, Digiko. You see, the fear of Digiko.
The mixer.
Digiko, the mixer, is the beginning of wisdom. Because they also have to fly in from Abuja. Because I started using it to do a show.
Yeah.
So the same console we're going to use, I started using it to do a show in Abuja. So he has to fly in the morning to Lagos while we're setting up. That's even half of the story. This is a mega show. We had huge screen requirements. Today, I promise you today, nobody has production equipment that can power. We cannot do the type of scale that we had at the countdown. We cannot have 2 of that in the same day in Nigeria.
It's crazy.
Because there's no equipment registry.
Yeah.
We had booked equipment to use screens that we're going to move, because that's what happens every December. So some guys are going to use the screen as one venue because there's limited screens. They're going to move once they finish to the venue. So we're here waiting for the screen that they were using at the Gen Z guys shows. The one at
Native Land?
Native Land.
Yeah.
And that's the day that it crashed. Hi.
So the team was waiting that, when they finish Native Land, we move the screen.
Next day,
same morning after the show to TBS, and then you get the news.
Yeah, GGG.
the stage
has fallen.
Stage has collapsed.
And all the screen has collapsed, so which means no screen.
Yeah.
And you go, how the hell is this show gonna happen? I remember, God, on the day of the show, 2 p.m., I promise you, no screen was up. I remember the Rema team coming to say, we're shutting down the show. There's no way we have to cancel. Me begging with my old age, begging young boys who are younger than me. I was begging with my old age. Guys, we've gone through thing and turn to get here. Finally, we found some guy who has some transparent screen somewhere, and we moved it in. Bro, I promise you, Rema show, for people that came early, people were there, was there's no screen. No. But in the end, it was a great show.
Yes.
And of course, we're taking all of these learnings, right? To see what kind of better decisions are we going to make. And luckily for us, what we did in December showed Nigeria that we actually have a huge venue.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, we know what we have to do, right? Which I can't say on the podcast. But not a single phone was Tony Rema. I remember when the show finished, and around 2 a.m., I was walking down and I saw Gen Zs fancifully walking on the streets of Lagos Island. I'm like, this is in Nigeria we prayed for. You know what I mean? And yeah, it sort of set a new motion.
Yeah.
Everybody believes now. It was good. A very big thank you to Lagos State government. They were really, it was a Lagos State event, literally. Lagos State owned the concert at the time. A big thank you to them for making that happen. The state was really behind us, providing all the security that we needed, getting the locals to cooperate with us. Literally, the guys that you called the thugs that would attack you were the ones that were security that day. They were the ones in green, So it was a great one. It was a great one.
Can you expand for our viewers, even the technology that was used to process the show? So many people might not know, but in that 2017 in Ghana or even 2016, the issues of people in the diaspora, they used to maybe using Eventbrite or Ticketmaster. You pay for your ticket, you show it on your phone, you go in. A lot of Africans didn't necessarily have those sort of ticketing companies on the continent, but since Flutterwave, Paystack has enabled payments and other payment companies too, now also we have ticketing companies as well, even bank transfer. Can you walk them through the technology leaps that have happened that have even enabled? For example, I know with Rema, the only place to get a ticket for Rema was softlife.com, right? And it was bank transfer that they used to pay. Nobody could buy physical tickets. It literally had to be an electronic ticket. So can you walk them through the technological innovations?
So I think that's one of the things that sort of helped us to do these things at the scale at which you do it. And I'll tell you, that's our secret sauce. Very far on, when we started Bedu, we knew that we needed to solve video technology that could power transactions at scale. And because it's really what everyone was trying to solve for. And we sat down and started thinking, okay, what's missing, right? And I remember our first experiments, because like you said, if you remember at Flutterwave, at Detty Rave, it got to a point that you and I were collecting cash for tickets.
Yes.
Because network was down.
Yep.
People couldn't access the site.
Yep.
And we're literally collecting, we're at the gates, and Eche.
Yep.
We're collecting cash, because people couldn't buy tickets online, right?
Yes.
And so it was very important to me that we built a technology that could solve that problem.
Yeah.
And so we started building in 2019, and we found what the problem was, right? When the Paystack and Flutterwave and Co started, everybody was focused on card payments, right? I've always hated card payments. My reason being, 35% of the time is failing, right? And one of the things I learned from working at WeChat was when I was saying earlier, that the social line that connected everybody, right? I found what it was for Nigeria. I realized it was bank transfers.
Yep.
That if you needed to build a social technology, it needs to sit 100%, if you can, on bank transfer. And that was the first layer. But then bank transfer had a major limitation. Bank transfers go through NIBs.
Yeah.
NIBs today, or even the best payment processor in this country, can only do 160,000 transactions per second.
And for our viewers, NIBs is basically like the interbank settlement payment,
yes.
Payment layer.
And because of how it's built, right? Once transaction pass that threshold, things start going crazy. And that's what we witnessed when there was no cash in Nigeria, where everybody was now trying to do transfer, right? Yeah. And, things were going crazy, right? And we realized that nobody had built what we call a microtransaction engine for payments, for real money payments. And because telcos have had this for years, which I say, when you go back and connect the dots, it all makes sense. In my telco days, even when the network is bad and you cannot hear what the person is saying, the network will collect their money. You see that there are 1 naira, 2 naira cost.
Charge,
it will go through. You will not hear the person. You'll be doing a loop for 5 minutes. And there must be a way telcos are doing these things. And it was not even GPRS. So how do we build? And that's when we realized that we need to build a microtransaction engine. And today, what is inside SoftLife is something we call Tutu. And it's literally the only microtransaction engine for real payments on the continent.
And can you explain what a microtransaction engine is? Yeah.
And like I said again, today in Nigeria, nobody uses their phone or bank app to send 5 naira to someone, 10 naira. Because then it becomes expensive. Yeah. Right? Nobody pays 15 naira with their... Imagine if for that time you have to buy Coke or pure water, the only way to use bank transfer, don't worry, we're going to be fucked because that'll be too much transactions, right? Yeah. So our systems today can't power microtransactions. Right? And for us to be able to do a concert of 100,000 people that'll be buying water and drink and want the economy that's around that concert to be fully digital, we need to be able to process that transaction at that speed. So we have to build this microtransaction infrastructure, right? Today, it does 2.2 million transactions in 1 second.
Wow.
Right? Not just that. And again, when you use SoftLife, it's built on bank transfer also. And we have to look at the loopholes within bank transfer. There's something interesting that we do. And I say this, when you look at our SoftLife app and you want to fund, you can only fund via bank transfer. If you transfer to the SoftLife app, your money lands in 500 milliseconds. And someone has asked me, how are we doing it? And I say, yes, it's still NIBs. It's just that we're doing NIBs the different way. So instead of us waiting, naturally how everybody builds it, you build, and you wait for that transaction to come and you take the notification. No, we don't. We have a whole engine that is sat down, connected to the bank, that is firing 1 million requests every second, looking for transactions that are unique to us. So from when the user initiates the transaction, instead of waiting for the API to send it, we picked it.
Yeah.
And so that way we're able to make sort of things work faster. So our big strength is the technology. And if you come to any of our concerts, the only way you get in and get out or buy water is through the stuff like payment ecosystem.
Definitely.
So can you walk us through, I think this is going to be an evergreen episode. I think it's an episode that people will watch for years, right? But we are going into Detty December 2025. It's going to be crazy.
It's going crazy.
It went viral everywhere to the point where people from not even Nigerians, other types of, people are coming to Lagos.
Yes.
They're announcing it. They're making it known. What do you predict is going to look like? And where do you think we have to go to really accommodate Detty December?
I think the first thing we need to solve for is infrastructure. And the biggest one is road and transportation.
Yeah.
If you look at every Detty December we've ever had, the issue has been transportation and access to these places, right? And I think this year is going to be more interesting. Luckily for us, we have a Lagos state government that is very, very accepting of the youth. And they're working really hard, right? The state is putting a lot of measures into place to make sure that this Detty December is going to be crazy, right? A good one is what they've done with Lag Ride, right? As I talk to you right now, I'm sure there's about 3,000 brand new cars that the state is bringing in to power mobility for people in December. They're doing all the major roads that access to the important places that you need to go to also, right? Once we can solve road and transportation, it becomes a lot easier. And we're working with the state to deliver a great experience. There's something that's happening this year in December. It's something myself and Eche has discussed for years. And I think Nigeria is getting its own Coachella. We're announcing that very soon. It's going to be a big deal. It's something, I'm sure when people see it, a lot of people have been asking me, Dayo, are you sure it's going to happen? I'm saying, yes, it's going to happen. This is like 5 years of planning. And I think we're almost there. Infrastructure, intentional infrastructural developments, right? Because today, one of the big limitations is when everybody comes, everybody's in VI. Right? If we have more facilities and experiences that people can sort of explore, it's going to sort of change things. I think this year will become a huge learning curve for us because this year we're expecting our biggest visitors yet. We'll learn the patterns of how they interact with the culture this year. And it helps us plan better next year to scale, right? But it's infrastructure, literally. What is lacking is infrastructure. And when I say infrastructure at scale, we have to give a big thank you to the guys that owned Airbnbs last year. And we don't give them credit because they saved us. You can say whatever. We don't have hotels in Nigeria. To think that all of Lagos is just Marriott Hotel, that is the high-end hotel, because there are some hotels, I don't want to mention their name here. You can't tell me that's our...
I know the word you're saying. I know the word you're thinking.
The OVI. There's no real hotel. You know what I mean? And these are areas we sort of need to look at, right? More infrastructures. The Airbnb structure is nice, but we have more bigger infrastructure that can contain people. A hotel can't be our only. A hotel is our biggest event, although 4,500 people. That bothers me every time.
20 million people city.
That's what I was literally about to
Just
say.
like 20 million people city, right? I know a few people are building stuff now. There's a 10,000 capacity that's being built by Palm Shopping Mall. Someone else is building one on the Lagos Calabar Express. So obviously, this thing is Kaizen, step by step. We're going to see this progress, right? But we're in a good place. And I think this is just going to get better from here.
And even I want to talk about as well with Detty December, outside of music, do you think there's other areas that we still need to tap into that our culture, you think, has like great opportunity?
Capital letter fashion.
I mean,
like, our fashion is getting so much. And again, one of my premise also and prediction why I took music in 2019 was that I said our music is what's going to carry everything else that we have. Right. And which is why I was really bullish about pushing the music also. Because our music is going to push our fashion, it's going to push our movies. And I think the next frontier right now, this year, is fashion. Movie, I started getting attention. Maybe another year or two, it will get there. But if you see what people like Dialab is doing, and the numbers that Dialab is doing, right? And seeing our Nigerian designers, I was looking at the AMVCA. I'm like, wait, AMVCA is competing with Megala. Because I was like, are these really Nigerian designers?
Yeah.
And I think it's time we pull focus on fashion.
Yeah.
Right. And intentional focus on fashion. Right. Our music videos are being watched everywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
Directors now should be intentional about showcasing Nigerian fashion in these music videos. It's going to help us a lot. But yeah, I think the next step is fashion, and then our food. Right. Kudos to people like Alara who is creating the local food properly. We need more of this, right? And I think the music, because imagine Burna Boy sold out Charles de Gaulle, the stadium in Paris, right?
Yeah, Paris.
Stade de France, right?
Yeah.
Imagine 80,000 people getting introduced to Nigerian food.
Yeah. Nigerian fashion.
Nigerian fashion
movies. etc.
outside.
Yeah.
Nothing beats that.
Yeah.
Rema did the same thing in New York. Imagine those 16,000 people
Madison
getting introduced
Square
to
Garden.
our fashion and our music and our food. It changes the ball game, right? Yeah, I think we just need to be intentional about how we collaborate and merge these different industries. But yeah, definitely, our creative economy has a high chance. And Nigeria has the attention. You know, there's a huge pattern I noticed in the last 4 years. Every major blockbuster movie that's come out in the last 2 years has a lead Nigerian supporting character.
Okay, explain.
One of the biggest movies this year was what? Sinners. The babe,
Yeah, Nigerian.
was a not Nigerian character, was a Nigerian. Oprah was the Ashe Yoruba that she did in Sinners. There's one that there's a new series on Netflix right now called Bet. The sub character is a Nigerian guy. When you see all of these movies that have been coming out, there's just one intentional introduction of a Nigerian sub actor.
Yeah.
Who is playing a Nigerian character. So we sort of gotten the world's attention. The world is trying to fuse into what we're doing and trying to include us. And we need to exploit and not let them exploit us. Right? And we have to be very intentional. And I think that we're in a place where, for instance, one of the things that we fought for in the music industry is already happening. The next frontier is ownership. Social media platforms are sort of giving us right to own today, right? And you see what our content creators are doing. Nigeria sort of defined, Nigeria is the only place where I see a global movie superstar or a global Nigerian superstar doing TikTok skits to promote his movie. And you know, you see people laugh at it, and I'm saying it's the Nigerian way.
Yeah.
It's the Nigerian way. I promise you, what the skits guys have done from themselves, I've not seen it anywhere else in the world. What these skits guys on our social media,
Content creators
have done, I've watched. I've not seen it anywhere else in the world. And you see that even the few guys in the US who are trying to do it, are trying to collaborate actively with our guys.
Yeah.
And the shift is happening drastically. I was talking to a friend, and I remember back in the days of ad agencies, right? You hear that an ad agency got the rights to do MTN for a year, and it's 2 billion. Nobody's paying that money to ad agencies anymore. The money are going to content creators now. There's this kid that is doing crazy on the internet. His name is He did a very popular ad with
I know the one you're talking. I know the one you're talking about. With he did, I think it wasn't Sprites, but it was
He did a Sprite one.
InDriver.
He did one with InDriver. He did one recently.
So good.
It was so good, right?
So good,
and
yeah.
the skits. And the quality is so good, right? And I'm saying that decentralization is happening.
Yeah.
You're seeing the same in the music industry. Nobody cares about record labels anymore.
Yeah.
Artists now own their own masters and music. They're just signing distribution deals.
Yeah.
So we're getting to where ownership is going to be very important, right? It's just that our country and at scale, we just need to be very intentional about what we build. Today, there's still no infrastructure that allows artists earn and control their money. We still have to rely on the foreign ones. We need to be intentional about how we build.
Yeah.
You can't drop a video and 6 million people are watching it in 1 hour and you don't make 1 hour from it.
Yeah.
That's the story of Instagram skills makers.
Actually, no, you know what? I need to double click in this thing because it's actually crazy when you start talking about the skits and promoting movies. Literally last night, I was telling Eche that I want someone to break down this thing of it's like a pipeline. Like either maybe they went through BBN or, maybe they're just an influencer and they start creating movies on YouTube, right? And the reason why, it started blowing my mind was I saw this Uche Montana. She has literally Uche TV on YouTube. And literally like, it looks like every 4 weeks she's dropping a movie. Yes. I'm seeing Bams. She's, like, because I haven't seen her in like a movie on Netflix or in a cinema in a long time. So I was like, but she's 3 million followers. Like her following is super engaged. Like, what is it? And then I took a look and I was like, oh, she has BAM TV on YouTube. So literally she's like making local Nigerian movies on YouTube, right? And she has a whole audience. So can you talk about that?
So, and this is again, the Nigerian way.
Yeah.
And I said, the people decide what they do and what the technology is for them. If anybody ever told you what YouTube was and how to be, or who can become YouTube superstars, it's maybe guys that game or do some kind of funny stuff. But it's not the case for Nigeria. It's what you've said. Home videos. And because if we go back, and it's nothing new, we all grew up on home videos.
You're right.
Nigerians don't go to cinema. Nigerian watches home videos. And because all our superstars that we call superstars, that we call the Ramsey Noah, what they were making were home videos. Yeah. Was a movie that would be produced, very shabby quality. Some distributor guy in Alaba is putting the CDs out, and boom. But then CDs died. Home videos needed a new home.
A new platform.
It just clicked for me. You're right. You're
home
right.
videos, we are not cinema going people. Let's call it a spade. Nigerians don't get the spade. But you see Nigerians, we can watch home video like it's no man's business. And so YouTube became the new home for home videos.
Something just unlocked because I was just like,
it's the home video culture.
Yeah. Like 6 million. Like I went to this girl's YouTube channel, 6 million. She just released it a week ago.
You guys, guess what? It's sad that nobody's getting how ridiculous that shit is.
Yeah. And she's making crazy money on YouTube.
Let me break the number to you.
Yes.
They're not even making the money they're meant to be making. First, I was on one of the Yoruba guys won, and this movie has 6.4 million views. Let me tell you how ridiculous that is. The highest grossing cinema movie made $1 billion. Right?
Billion.
$1 billion naira.
Okay, billion. Okay.
In Nigeria, right? The average cinema ticket is 5,000 naira. So if my math is still good, for you to sell $1 billion at 5,000 naira, maybe 200,000 people watched your movie. That's highest grossing. A YouTube movie, go and check on YouTube today. This is YouTube home videos. You'll see 4.3 million views. I promise you, nobody's watching that thing twice. Because it's data we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a 1 hour for 7 long movie. Nobody's going to watch the movie twice because data is expensive. So I'm saying those movies are doing 6.4 million unique viewers.
Times 5,000.
Imagine they could just monetize and collect 100 naira for watching.
Whew.
Quiet. Everyone's calculating.
Not just 100 naira.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's where we have to start thinking about these things, right? YouTube won't understand this because what is YouTube is used to is kids who are doing it is
their audience, yeah.
But that's become the new home for the Nigerian home video culture. Yes, we can glorify our cinema movies as much as Nigerians are home video people. We want the movie to be as basic, as comic, as funny and relatable as possible. Wicked auntie, poor girl, falling in love,
Juju.
Simple basic story. We don't talk. The YouTube numbers are ridiculous, and that's why I said, your highest grossing cinema movie did $1 billion. That's just 200,000 people watching in a 200 million people country. But there are movies on YouTube that just casually in 1 week doing 4 million views.
Yeah, because it's so I need to like go down this rabbit hole because I was really trying to understand it. Like I see these people all across Instagram and they have millions of followers.
Yes.
And then when you go to their YouTube, you do the math. Like there's a whole economy happening there. They're not concerned with Netflix.
They're making some money.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying the economics is because they have to now rely on the YouTube economics, right?
Yeah.
Which is not good for the value of what they're creating.
Because of CAC too.
You know what I mean?
Or CPM.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you know what I mean?
CPM, yeah.
CPM, you know what I mean? If they can figure out a way to monetize that, and which is where platforms like YouTube also need to start rethinking of building versions of their products that
For
sits
regions. Yeah.
with how our region works.
Yeah.
Nigerians will conveniently pay this money I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Trust me. Because TikTok shows us that it is possible.
Yeah.
Right? And again, we just have to be intentional about how we're looking at it. A few of us are trying to get things done to see how we can sort of build for this structure, because of course the foreign guys come and give us products, but we decide how we use it. Trust me, the home video on YouTube is 10 times bigger than your cinema economy.
It's crazy. I mean, I've always said that, like, as Africans, we're great at creating value, but very poor at capturing it, right? And I think this is where sometimes the infrastructure, especially with the technology, enables us to capture it. The Chinese seem to have figured out a way to capture the value that they create, whether it's from Shein, Temu, whether it's even Badu or WeChat, right? We're just talking about WeChat. What are some things that Nigerians can learn from, or even Africans can learn from the Chinese, especially in how we build products that allow us to capture the value that we create? Because 4 million views in Nigeria should also be 4 million views in the US, right? But obviously they have, what YouTube says is, well, the advertising, the monetization, disposable income is higher. So this, in a way, actually prevents us from tapping into the financial freedom globally. So how should we think through building for this sort of problem as well?
So again, like I said, right, I've seen a lot of great products come out of this country. But what you find is that the products that we've still follow the foreign templates. Some guy just see a foreign version of an app and think that, let me come and build a Nigerian version for it. And then it fails, right? Which is like I'm saying, we should stop building for the people. We should build with them. Right? And building, today, I think, no, don't try to build our own YouTube. I think it will be a foolish way to go about it, right? But we understand what our payments and collection, how it works. Can we build payment infrastructures that intentionally YouTube can integrate to and solves this problem?
Yeah.
I promise you, Nigerians will conveniently pay 200 naira for this YouTube content. And reason being, I've been in sittings with people saying that, they need to build more cinemas. And my brain breaks every time. I'm like, why are you guys always thinking in reverse? Because how many of you went to cinema before Silver Bed? What's going on here?
That's true.
It's true.
Our culture is we are own video people.
Yeah.
And why? Because convenience. The convenience of watching home video.
On your TV, on your phone, on your iPad.
And guess what? A lot of people that build technology also live in Lagos, so they are delusional. Because Lagos is not Nigeria. Chika, once you leave Lagos, that's where Nigeria starts from Mowe. You have entered Nigeria, which is a different place. You know, Lagosians, just down my road is a cinema, fancy one that I can go to. I can afford it. These guys don't even have lights. But guess what? You see that their phone, it must not die. You know they die.
Yeah.
And guess what? In that 1 hour at night when they are home, where they are on their small better pass my neighbor Jen, they will watch that thing on their phone. 1 hour 47 minutes. They even watch 3 to 4 of it. And we have to be intentional. So like saying, build new payment rails, create policies that enforces that these platforms connect to it. Don't worry, we don't need to earn your dollars. Once we can earn our own Nigerian economics, it will work.
Yeah.
And then policy level say that, our creators, this is a model that we want you guys to sort of employ. That's one step to it. Also, creators be very intentional. Right? Because I'm saying, if you pick an average Gen Z today, and I say pick an average Gen Z and Gen Alpha, their screen time is 13 hours minimum daily. They spend, you guys can go around this search, find any Gen Z around you, pick your phone and check their screen time. It's minimum 13 hours daily. This generation spend 13 hours on their phone out of 24 hours. Let me tell you what their real timeline is. So 13 hours on their phone. There's 24 hours in a whole day, Abi. So out of that 13 hours, there's how many hours left? That's 10 hours left, Abi. They'll sleep for 8 hours. Don't worry. They don't play with their sleep. They don't do 5 hours like us. They sleep for under 7 to 8 hours. So let's pick 7. So guess what? 7 hours they are sleeping, 13 hours they're on their phone. The remaining 4 hours is food and whatever seems important. So why are you being in cinemas? They don't have TVs. I was talking to an older friend of mine. And I said his kid came back home and his own mind was trying to impress his child, went to LG to go and buy a big LG TV and put on the wall. Said the boy comes, carries the TV and drops it outside. And if I say, why do you think it's taking space? I like how the space is black.
Minimalist.
And you know one of the things that baffle me about this kid is that ask any Gen Z, and please, you should comment if I'm lying. For them to eat, they need their phone to be watching movie.
That's like Eche. Is he Gen Z?
I'm a Gen Z at heart.
You see, that food they're about to eat is not going to go without
Them
their
watching
mobile device,
something, yeah.
and it's not TV. So why are you trying to create a reverse? If you have 13 hours of somebody's attention,
Build from there.
build from there.
You do remember Quibi when they tried to do Quibi? Disney tried to create this. Not Disney, the former Disney workers tried to create TV shows through Quibi, but they wanted to limit it to like maybe 5 minutes or 6 minutes movies. I don't think the thesis was wrong in terms of this reverse we're talking about. Maybe now the implementation, but it goes back to what you were saying. You know.
So again, don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Find something that is normal to people, right? And just build on it.
Build with them.
Right?
Yeah.
If you look at the equivalent, the content that's crazy in somewhere like the US, it's things that like TV shows.
Yeah.
And because they have a huge TV show culture.
Yeah.
Right? That's why Mr. Beast is big. That's why
Yeah.
the AMP boys are doing, it has to be a show. We don't have a show culture.
Wait, so what is our culture? Because I actually want you, with this Gen Z and the 13 hours, where are they spending their time? Which platforms? What are they looking at? And I want you to, if you can, tell me what women Gen Z are looking at and are aspiring, and what are the men Gen Z looking at?
Exactly.
Also, to add to that, can we also talk through the data set about, I think me and you have talked about this from 2018 to about 20, how many young people in Nigeria turned and what age they turned to? Yeah.
So first, to take Eche's question first, right? You know, what's really interesting that everybody missed, right, is between 2018 and 2023, 46 million Nigerians turned 18.
26.
46.
Aye. Okay.
Because, sorry, the reason why I was, remember when I said to you, I used to feel like I used to come to Lagos and there were 6 degrees of separation between me and whoever I would know.
Yeah.
At some point from that 2018 to you're seeing new human beings pop up and you're like, wait, who
I
are
know all
you
of us
from?
question, where does all these kids on Instagram come out from?
Yeah.
Like, boom, we are seeing hundreds of them, right? That's what happened.
46 million.
46, between 2018, 46 million young Nigerians turned 18. There are a lot of girls I'll meet today and I'm talking to, I'm like, oh yeah, bring your biggest influencers. In 2018, they were still minors. They were 16, 17. And which is a really huge number, right? Now to what they do. TikTok. I was checking one kid's phone, and in a week, right, I was looking at her screen time, and she does an average of 5 hours on TikTok daily. And it's all kind of things. But when you streamline it, so based on the social group that child these young people belong to, what they consume is different, right? They're very fancy ones. We just want to hear. But guess what? But you find something that is core gist.
Gossip gist.
Can be foreign gist that some people are interested in. What happened between Justin Bieber and this? But it is in the end. Gists.
Just as a service.
Literally, if you look at what they watch on TikTok, that TikTok is gist.
So people like tell you this is a
This
gist.
person said, this one has his opinion on what happened to this person, or this person have married this person. When you look at the events that get viral, it's all about just gossiping.
Yeah. The weddings that recently happened.
And everybody has opinion on what this person is wearing. They just want to. Everybody has opinion that they want to hear. Right? And it's the same thing, right? Then the few ones who have figured out how to monetize it. But even the ones that become popular, they became popular because people can gist about them.
But what are they? I'm curious. What are they gisting about? Because like back in the day, I felt like there was real gist. like now it just feels like, oh, so and so is friend. Or like it's nothing.
So again, it's and when we look at it, this thing is not new.
Yeah.
It's culturally in depth into who we are.
Yes.
So let's go back to what are the biggest blockbuster shows and things that people used to watch back in days of no internet, right? There's something in Southwest that is called a guy called Kola Olawe. We used to have a show called Nkombe. Yoruba people would know this. It was the biggest show on radio. And what the guy does is just come and give gist about people's weird behaviors. Some mystical happening somewhere, and people now have opinion about it. If you look at radio stations that also today, talk shows, stations like Nigeria FM and Wazobia, is gist. The biggest tabloids that were printed back in the days also was Ovation, because Ovation is giving you view into what is happening to rich people, and everybody said, this person wore this here. This person did not greet this person. Mm-hmm. It is just who we are. And you find the same thing, blog. What's the biggest blog in the history of Nigeria?
Linda Ikeji.
What does Ikeji do?
Gist.
Everybody who has done anything that is not gist. Instablog. What does Instablog do?
Gist.
Give you gists.
And it just is not it's like a Nigerian word. Like it's not a word.
Shida room. Gist. Who owns Shida room?
In Nigeria.
Shade room.
I mean shade room.
Shade room. Shade room.
That's true. She said, I'll bring just to America.
Just globally.
And it's an integral part of who we are. You know, when I try to look at these TikTok guys, trust me, it baffles me every time. Like, I'll just see them scroll. I'm like, so, okay, what are they talking about? Before you know it, you're in their gist. Guess what? Why is Big Brother big also? Because they can gist about what has happened in the Big Brother house.
Yeah.
This person did this person. And we're just following, we just want to follow gist of somebody else.
Is that why Snapchat? Because Snapchat uniquely is big here. It's not, I feel like it's not the same in other regions.
Yes. But again, Snapchat is powering something else.
Okay. Well,
Our Nigerian men private economy.
for those who know.
For those who know what Snapchat is powering, it's powering something else. You know what I mean? And guess what? You see that the world is not using, the people that use Snapchat in the world don't use it for that.
Yeah.
They use it for just sending private messages and privacy. But Nigeria, no, we know what's powering. That's what I have to say. But yeah, like I said, that's the pattern. Nigerians just like amebo.
It's true.
Nigerians just like amebo.
And you think it's, I mean, I don't know if it's unique
To us?
but it seems a little deeper.
Okay, so I look at what other people TikToks are doing, right? Go and look at global people that are big on TikTok or everywhere else in the world, right? You find that either maybe a beauty influencer or a fashion influencer or a comedian, maybe very few comedian. In Nigeria, is that we can gist about you. Like you're giving us drama. And guess what? Look at your celebrities too.
Yeah.
Right? There's this guy that nobody talks about. And to just buttress on this gist, right? Portable. There's nobody that can sing 4 Portable songs for me. Nobody. There's nobody in this country that can come and say you can sing 4 tracks from Portable. But you know how that guy is relevant? He's always giving you guys gists. The guy will always be in your face. He must be gist. If he's not fighting police, he's beating someone. And he's a musician. Nobody knows the song. You know what I mean? And it's because it's what interests Nigeria.
Yeah.
Guys like this other guy who is always, once you just give people things to talk about, Nigerians don't say their opinion.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what sort of powers. And if you look at it, it's the same pattern. It's the same thing that made Naira land back in the days.
True.
Gist.
True.
We like gist.
Yeah. It's actually now that I'm like really reflecting on it, every major era in media was like some gist guy. And it's like different variations. Even weddings, it's the gist.
It's the gist. It's the gist that, who was there? Who came? Who did not come? This person's fighting this person. It's the gist. Nobody remembers who the designer was. When you're looking at, it's the gist. What happened there? Who fought who? Why did this person not greet anybody? Oh, this one did not come. You know, and it's weird. When you understand this basic social
It powers
things,
the economy.
yes, and that's what powers the economy.
But actually, just to I don't know, because this is very interesting to me. And I know Eche will probably have a different question, but let's say I'm a young Gen Z influencer as a woman, and I want to tap into what you say. What would you do? What would you advise?
Jeez, though. and guess what? And I can give you.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Apart from the guys who became successful from Big Brother, once you leave Big Brother and there's nothing to gist about, you are
fade.
gone, no? You are faded, though. Right? And guess what? If you look at the people that have become sensation today, they are the people that give us gist, though. I don't want to be mentioning names so that, you know, I don't become popular unnecessarily. But if you guys look at the female celebrities, there are people that have, anybody who's become a celebrity in this country, you are giving people things to talk about. Just look at it. So if there's no drama in your life, you cannot be big in this country. Even our biggest celebrities, there has to be drama. The music guys.
Yeah, there's always drama.
There must be something. Once there's nothing to talk about, they won't even remember that you sing.
It's true. That's why what's his name? Cubana priest. That's why he always is giving a show. You have to. There has to be some drama. Give guys something to talk about. It's what it is. Whatever you want to do, let's just be something. If you are not making them laugh, give them gist. Okay.
Be funny or give them gist.
True.
Let's transition. So, Olumide Soyombo, one of the most respected angel investors in Africa, names you as his top founder in the Nigerian tech ecosystem in his book. And you're not just mentioned, you're number one. One question, what did it feel like to read that, right? And then two, what part of your journey did it bring back to you? The early risks, the moments nobody saw, the nights you almost quit. And how do you carry that kind of recognition now, especially in an ecosystem where founders rarely get their flowers in public?
First, I don't really read books. And I remember that it was my friend. Oh, it was Eche. Was it that point?
Yeah, it was me,
funny enough, I was at the book launch.
Yeah.
And because Olumide is someone that I think that we don't give enough credit for what he has sort of done in the ecosystem. Olumide didn't know me from anywhere when I met him in 2015. And then we had this idea of paddy bets, and it was like, oh, Dayo, and they took all their money, and then we should go and take this risk. Paddy bets wasn't successful, right? We failed at some point. Well, guess who gave me the first investment for my next venture? Same Olumide Soyombo. Literally, the next venture, we'll go and meet him and say, okay, guess what, Dayo? I'm not giving you the money in the products, but I believe that you're going to do this right. And, seeing someone like Olumide just sort of mention you in that way. And I remember texting him that, oh, bro, thank you so much. Like, if anybody told me to write that means someone is seeing what you're doing, right? And because this building thing is really hard, right? It's so hard that we don't talk about how hard it is, right? You're giving your life to build something that matters to people, but then you lose the things that's supposed to be important to you on the story, right? I'm still going through my own fair share. Losing loved ones to you wanting to build to a cost that you sort of giving to yourself, right? And and if you see anyone who is building and who is genuinely building, please hug them. I promise you, they are going through a lot. And to not even give up. It's Nigeria gives you every reason to give up. I've seen a lot of people come to meetings so many times. Dayo, with the things that you've put your hand into, you should have a unicorn by now. I'm like, no, it's sprint, it's a marathon, right? It's interesting to see being recognized. And, like nobody has literally, first everybody knows I don't like to do interviews. This is the first time ever I'm going to sit on any form of interview or talking. I avoid it as much as I can, right? I just want to build. And seeing few people recognize that, yes, there's something that we're doing. It sort of gives you reason to want to do more most times.
Actually, speaking on building, I want you to talk about, because you're doing some very interesting thing around these concerts, these productions, soft life. Is there kind of the next phase of it? Do you see yourself even maybe exporting some of this?
I think those things will happen naturally. I'm very strongly convicted that if we can win here, and I say win in Nigeria, we would win globally, right? And the data is there, and I've been shouting this for as long as I can. I remember Eche was here when I said, Eche, let's bring this thing away from Ghana and bring it back home. That was, the boys pride this in Nigerians, can we bring it back home? And my reason being, I think Nigeria is the future of everything. And the pattern is just there for us. So it's just there. The US government is building the largest consulate in Nigeria, in Lagos. That should tell us something. The whole world is gonna move to Nigeria. I promise you. Nigeria is a cheat. Nigeria cheats. I repeat, everything you've ever been taught in economics or in building, Nigeria cheats it. And once you can just understand the Nigerian way, it becomes ridiculously different, right? And Nigeria's gonna projected that Lagos population will be 100 million in 30 years. And they're not lying. Bloomberg also said that we're going to be the 5th largest economy in the world in 30 years. It is true. We are the next frontier. And the moment we build and we win here, it's going to happen naturally. Our values are going to get exported. We're going to power, we might not power other countries, but we'll power cultures in other systems also, right? But the real goal is win here. Yeah. So the goal is there. Maybe to the future, but I'm not the guy who's thinking of trying to launch a version of our app in Ghana. No. If we can win here locally, we've won. Yeah.
But you know, another thing I want you to speak to, expanding on this, is so I've been the same, right? I came back in 2015, build and failed. But I've always been convinced that there's something in this country. There's something. The creativity, the hustle, it's nowhere else.
It's unmatched.
It's unmatched. Like literally, like I just think about even our conversations. Like I could drive down to your office, sit down with you for a few hours, and you're gonna spark things in me. I can't think of that type of behavior in any other part of the world, right? So what can you tell our listeners about why you are particularly so excited about building in Nigeria? Like, what can we look forward to? Because to be honest, again, you say, Nigeria cheats economics, but people still feel like I've built, I've tried. I know plenty of people who built and left, they've jackpot. So what are you seeing that other people are like, I've tried though, I'm gone?
And I call it, there's no rule in Nigeria. There's literally no rule, and let's call it what it is. And because there's no rule, it allows you to create at no limits. Because a lot of these other countries, again, and because of it's just how Nigeria sort of be designed. Nigeria is the only. And that opt-in is ridiculous. Economics and all these financial things break logical things, but there's something that is very logical about Nigeria. Nigeria is the only country. You guys take a stroll down to the streets of mainland, local streets, and you see people that they don't know where their next naira is coming from. And their argument is about how their Lamborghini, when they bring it to these streets. A Nigerian who has no money to eat believes that he'll get 100K tomorrow. And I promise you, he's going to get 100K tomorrow from thin hair. It only happens in Nigeria. And he's not doing fraud. And again, let's understand this, right? In other cultures, because guess what? It is true that somebody can just call him tomorrow and he will make 1 million naira from somewhere. You only find this thing in this country, right? And because in as much as people think that what scattered people, what united, like what divided, I call it divided. What connected in a very crazy way that it will break your brain. And again, Nigeria is designed for only Nigerians to win. You see the things that you see in other culture, where you hear that, some Indians are now own all of the real estate in London, and some people own, Chinese own. It cannot happen in Nigeria. Only Nigerians win in Nigeria. Go and check all of history. Nobody has ever compete against a Nigerian business and won a Nigerian business. It has never happened. If you think you want to win, you have to become Nigerian and ask MTN. I'm telling you, it took MTN to become Nigerian. If you guys go back, before you know it, they've given them $1.5 billion fine. What they did, they became a Nigerian business. And because the way our forefathers was, I don't know how they did it. Nigeria is just designed for Nigeria to win. And your best chance of becoming something or building or getting that dream, it's going to be hard. And it's going to be easy. It's Nigeria. And everybody's saying it. Everybody's saying it. And it's because we just, in a weird way, watch out for ourselves. I give examples to people. I say, look at how beautiful this country is. My house. And we all grew up like this, but we don't appreciate the beauty of this. In the house I grew up in, we had a driver, Oga Sunday. Poor person, but drove us to school. But because of how we are, these kids can come to our house. The kids got access to fancy things. They mixed with us, right? You don't find this in other culture. You don't. I went to a government school where the child of the carpenter, the child of the governor, the child of the king were all in the same class. No matter the hierarchy of your father must drop you at the gate. You will walk in like the poor man's child, though. Your dad that can drive in. And today we all have that driver, that cook, that chef that's getting access to it, that's getting exposed without having to pay for it because they're around us. And it's a big part of what strengthens us as a people. And if we can build on that, we'll become unstoppable. And the way it's also going, right? In another 10, 15 years, we're going to be the third largest diaspora number in the world. Which sort of takes our strength up. Right? And everybody will want to come back and get attached to their roots. Because in the end, there's nothing like home. No matter how high you socially climb in this society, you still want to come back. And the Jackwada wave is going to start. Yeah. And so where do you need to build? When people start coming back, where are they going to live? People are going to come back at light speed. And you guys can attest to this because you guys came back. Yeah. Yeah. So it's Nigeria. The answer is Nigeria. It's the next. See, they've exploited everything that can be exploited in the world. They've exploited the Chinese culture. I'm telling you guys. They've exploited the Chinese culture to the end. What the Chinese movie martial arts, Korean has been sold. They've bastardized in India culture, giving us yoga and everything. The next frontier,
Africa, Nigeria,
is Nigeria precisely.
No, it's true. I mean, if we
are seeing it start, and we have to be intentional so that we don't lose it.
Yeah, it's true.
It's also, I think for me, I came to appreciate the demographics, how demographics can really be destiny, because 200 million people, and it's going to be 400 million people. If 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 5 people in the next couple of years,
it's Nigeria.
That's crazy. Yeah. You know?
And if you look at the US, and it's getting more and more stronger, every single person you speak to, they know one Nigerian at least. And it's not even just black people, white people, Asian people. If you bring up, you're Nigerian, they'll tell you, I knew so and so. Yes. Oh, my friend from da da da.
But also, I think, can we talk about how the internet played this huge role in this too? Because it sort of democratized a lot. Because before, there were a lot of gatekeepers, whether it was in music, whether it was in movies.
Yes.
And I guess my question is really centered around the intersection between culture, internet, technology. What does that thesis look like for the future? Because right now, our oil is spoken for, our gemstones and minerals are spoken for. The one thing we still have that gives us leverage globally is culture, right? How should people be navigating that between the culture, the internet, and the role it's played so far?
Like you said, right? We have to be intentional about it, like I said earlier, right? And by intention, right? And intention meaning fusion. The answer is fusion.
Yeah. Fusion, okay.
We need to start fusing our culture with other culture. And if you look at even biology, it's the easiest way to grow and propagate. We need to simplify the things that seem really hard in our future, in our culture, and fusion it with what other people can understand.
Yeah.
And it's what people like Burna is doing with the music.
Yeah.
Pick the sound that they know. fuse it with the Afrobeat sound. Boom, global.
Tony Braxton, last.
And we have to do that with everything. You do not grow by trying to stay in a closed circle. For you to really grow, you have to allow to fuse with other things. So you can leave parts of you in these things. And so your future is the answer. We have to be intentional about how we fuse our cultural, from beliefs to religion to food, with other culture. It's the only way we are going to have this whole takeover that we were talking about, right? But more importantly, we have to also be intentional about the things that we build. My friend he was talking recently somewhere, and he was talking about how Nigerians are not creators and we shouldn't bother trying to build great infrastructure. And a lot of people didn't understand what I was saying. And I'm saying, yes, he is not wrong. I don't think anybody should try to build a TikTok today. Okay, China, you've built TikTok. We found how TikTok worked for us. But these are conditions on how the TikTok, like what the European Union bullishly does with other platforms.
Apple, exactly.
The moment we become intentional about how we fuse our laws, morals, into the version of these products that we're using here, then there's no limit to what we can achieve.
Yeah. And it's actually easier to have those conversations with those companies than saying, let's go build. Because that ship has sailed, right? That ship has already sailed. So now integrate with our payment solutions. If it's 100 Naira, if it's 200 Naira, it might not matter to you as a platform, but it makes a lot of difference to us here. Right? And then this is how you can get our people out of poverty at scale. Yeah.
So now it's time for our rapid fire questions. Okay. So whatever comes first to mind, go. So what is your first concert that changed your life?
Life is Easy, 2016.
The Mr. Eazi concert. That concert was so good.
It was so good. It was the foundation of everything.
Wow. A product you wish you built.
A product that exists today that I wish I built. Facebook.
That's a good one. One Gen Z habit that fascinates you.
How they retire from work every 2 years. These kids actually go. Bro, I'm telling you, I've met two who say, guess what, I'm retiring. I want to just travel for the next 1 year. And I know 4 of them right now.
Wait, what are they retiring to? What money do they have?
I'm telling you, I don't know. I know 4. Iriti is you I'm talking about. You are one of them. Brilliant. This is a brilliant distinction young lady working for a top government, a UK government precisely. Wakes up one day and goes, I just want to read and not work this year.
Sabbatical.
Literally. Leaves and she's just doing yoga, drinking matcha, writing stuff for a whole year. I'm like, so how do you survive on this? Like, my 20 pounds is enough. They are a different breed, I promise you. Like, they are not motivated by money, and I can say this every time. It breaks my brain. They are different, and that's the one.
What is one unpopular opinion you swear by?
The richest man in the world is going to come from here in the next 20 years. The richest man. We don't know who it is. Maybe it's me, but we don't know. But the richest man in the world is going to come from this country.
It's so funny because the earlier interview we had, he also declared he's a billionaire. So maybe Afropolitan is kicking billionaires.
But the richest man from the world is going to come from Nigeria in the next 30 to 40 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last question we ask every guest on Afropolitan Podcast is, who do you want to see sitting in this chair? And whose story you want to hear?
Here. Seyi Tinubu.
Okay. Expand.
Say expand.
Yeah, I want to hear your angle.
A lot of people think that he got everything on the platter of gold. It needs to
tell the story.
Tell the story.
Well, Seyi Tinubu.
Yeah, because I think people are wrong. And until you hear someone's story.
I still have one more question on this Gen Z subject. Yeah. Obviously, we used to do events and parties, or I used to do that a lot, right? This nightclub situation where a lot of nightclubs used to depend on people buying bottle service. But Gen Z, they don't spend, they don't care about tables, or maybe it's even a disposable income issue. What is it going on then? What is the future of nightclubs, especially from this wellness thing that we're always talking about too? What does that look like going forward?
They're dying, you know.
Yeah.
They're rapid dying. They dying so fast. Yeah, these young people, and it's not disposable income problem. It's that they just have priorities of what they spend their money on. Because again, we're all wrong. These kids have money. Gen Z's, there's been a world shift in the last 4 years, right? These kids' economics that none of us can understand though. Because till today, nobody can explain to me why I'm spending 1.5 million here. They wear it like it's nothing, no. Right? They are buying cars. Like, I remember when I started working, I wanted the Passat. Volkswagen. These kids want the Benz, and they get the Benz. It's just that their priorities are different. And as everything else, right? The same way the disco culture died, the club culture is dying. They don't care to pop bottles. They just want to drink cocktails. And they want experiences. Like, this is the only when I was growing up, vacation in summer. These guys travel 3 to 4 times a year. So they're not kidding. They're spending the money. They're the generation that I know that travels 3 to 4 times a year.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
Experiences.
Yes. So they'll pay for experiences.
Wait, but now I have a question on that. So, okay, from the context of being in this country, in Nigeria, what are they doing? Like, I'm like, that is the biggest question I have. Like, it's a Friday night. When I was, on the streets,
It's the next club.
I was at SIP.
Yes.
Right? I had my regular tables. I was, we started at RSVP, then we went to SIP, and then, we could continue the night. So what are they doing on a Friday night?
Like I said again, they just want different experiences. And that's why you see things like elementals becoming a thing, right? You see these raves. They want to go to raves where they can have their simple cocktail and just have fun with their friends. And I think someone should look into the rave culture. It's gonna be a thing. It's a thing, literally already, right? They sweat it out also, another rave that they're always going to. And they travel a lot. And when I say travel, not just abroad though. They're going to Ife, they have travel groups, they're going to Benin Republic, they're going to Togo. And because their life is driven by creating content. So they want to go to places where they can show. The number one tourist location in Nigeria is Lekki Phase 1.
Wait, what?
All the restaurants there.
Lekki Phase 1, no restaurant. The dream of that child girl in Ebonyi is to make it Lekki Phase 1, not New York. Right? And they're spending money. Oh, all those Airbnbs. I don't want to say in there. Right? So that's it. They want to just pay for new experiences. And the more they earn, the more the experience that they want to pay for. But they just want something different. It's not,
it's not nightclub culture.
Yeah, it's not nightclub culture where you just don't sit down and pop bottle and pop bottle. They don't care for those things.
So you wouldn't advise opening one? Like, that's
club? Definitely not. Clubs are dying. It's millennials that are going to club. And now the millennials that are going to club and have responsibility. They have children and school fee to pay. So it's it's not a great time for the clubs. And guess what? It's not a Nigerian thing. It's a worldwide thing. It's a global thing, right? This generation don't care for distance. They don't. Clubs, definitely not. New experiences. New raves, festivals, things that take them out of town. That they can document, yes. Because what do you want to go and document in the club? Today, guys, follow me as I go to Vanity. Like, we pop bottle. All your time going to say about Vanity next Friday. Same thing.
True. You have any more?
No, I'm good. Dayo, thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Dayo.
Thank you so much
this
for having me.
Lovely.
This is great.
Yeah,
this is great.
I didn't know I could do this.
No, you were great.